The Marines, the Army, the CIA, everybody is going woke in the United States Armed Forces. We're talking today about the Space Force commander who was fired after criticizing Marxism and critical race theory. We're going to be talking about the Army. The U.S. Army is now focused on making sure that we all know how dangerous one of America's most severe enemies is. Of course, the worst enemy that we face right now, it's not, Al-Qaeda, it's not North Korea or the Russians or the Chinese. It is climate change, Mother Earth. She is coming after us hard, and the Army's got to gear up. They're going to get their CFL light bulbs and their solar panels, and they're going to go out there and save America one tree at a time. So we're going to go through a lot of this. Now, this is a trend that is taking place all over the country, and we're even seeing the Pentagon now saying that they are going to be starting to monitor all military personnel, their social media, to identify extremist content so that they can sort of unify and homogenize the entire military to make sure that they are in alignment with one political ideology that's in power right now. First story comes over from the Post-Millennial. Says the Space Force commander speaks out after being fired for warning against Marxism. He was on Sean Hannity last night, Monday night, to warn that critical race theory is creating unnecessary divisions inside the armed forces. He said, "Let me give you one example of what I saw in the past 10 months was when I was in command of a unit." He said, "I began noticing some time ago, and not just in the past few months, but over the past several years, an increasing relevance of what I saw was a Marxist ideology parading around by other names," Lieutenant Colonel Lohmeier said. The Secretary of the Department of Defense called for an extremism down day and issued a guidance memorandum to all service members in February. In the guidance memo, he basically gave an injunction to every service member, so an injunction is like an order, every service member to combat extremist ideologies within the force where they saw them, and take it upon ourselves to protect one another and to speak up and educate one another about extremist ideologies when we discovered them causing divisions within the force. He wrote Irresistible Revolution. We talked about that book yesterday. Sean Hannity went on to slam the military for teaching the Constitution and for teaching that the Constitution ratified and codified white supremacy, which was mentioned in his book, Irresistible Revolution. Hannity asked him if the U.S. military recognizes the incredible strides the U.S. has taken to form a more perfect union. He says, "I think it's recognized. I think one of the things that the Defense Department does very well is it makes it very clear that we've got zero tolerance for discrimination of any kind, based on race, sex, politics, or religion." But he made it exceedingly clear that during his time as commander, he had zero tolerance for political discrimination as well. I said, "I made it very clear to my own people in the light of the hyper-politicized environment since I've taken command, and I'm no longer in command, I will not tolerate any discrimination of any kind based on politics." There were videos being sent out to every base service member that we were asked to watch in preparation for our extremism down days and discussions on race, in which we were taught that the country was evil, that it was founded in 1619 and not 1776, and that whites are inherently evil. They're teaching this to the military. Oh my gosh, what is happening right now? We have the, if that's not bad for you, then we now know that the U.S. Army, America's lethal fighting force. And I have a lot of respect for the military. I never served. I got to imagine, I know a lot of people who did serve in the military. I got to imagine that they are just looking at this stuff and they are pulling their hairs. I have to guess. But maybe they don't want those people anymore. Maybe they want the cisgender Latina gal or the Magic the Gathering playing CIA agent. I have no idea. Maybe that's what they want. U.S. Army now is going to be taking on climate change as a serious threat to national security. Over from the Federalist, the U.S. Army announced it will begin prioritizing climate change as part of its ongoing strategic operations. Oh my gosh. Who's in charge of the military now? Is it Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? Titled U.S. Army Addressing Climate Change Threats. The document classifies climate change as a serious threat to U.S. national security and defense objectives, while also detailing how the military agency intends to play a more active role in responding to climate-related issues moving forward. Quote from the memo, "To prepare for the challenges ahead, the Army will continue to identify and implement steps to enhance readiness and capability in the face of climate-related threats." That's good. Strong steward of the resources offered in a shared operational environment. The Army has a lot to be proud of, yet there's a lot of work to continue to operate efficiently across extreme weathers and climate conditions. As part of its response initiative, the agency intends to conduct in-depth assessments of likely climate change effects on the Army's worldwide missions, while also working to lead the way in technology for tactical vehicles. The response will include a focus on strategizing and planning to mitigate climate threats. What the hell are they going to do about this? The Army, the U.S. Army, what are they going to do? They drive tanks and they fly helicopters and aircraft carriers that carry huge pieces of metal all over the world. That's the point. It's to move forces around the planet. It's going to cause some carbon to come out. They've placed an emphasis on soldier resilience, energy reform, and capability enhancement. The push to incorporate a left-wing climate agenda under the guise of national security has been a longtime priority of President Joe. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin foreshadowed how the Defense Department will utilize the issue of climate change to reshape how the military operates. Everything is going to be reshaped under climate change, including the military, which is Elon going to be making some tanks and some aircraft carriers? We're going to have a Tesla aircraft carrier now. We are in the Department of Defense. We are committed to doing our part. We're going to increase the efficiency of our platform, whatever. These guys it's like a joke. We have the Pentagon now plans to monitor social media of military personnel for the extremist content. So this came over from The Intercept. Glenn Klippenstein wrote this. So if you are somebody who is in the armed services and you don't want to fight climate change and you get on Facebook and you post about it, well, guess what? Pentagon is now monitoring you for that. So they're going to see whether or not that's extremist conduct. If you write a book about Marxism or critical race theory, like the former Space Force commander, gone. If you're somebody who doesn't like climate change, gone. If you're somebody who maybe is not an ideological lefty, gone. We saw that. Libertarians, threats. So now they're going to be cracking down on this. They're going to be monitoring everything you say just to make sure that you're not a dangerous extremist. As part of the Biden administration's crackdown on domestic extremism, the Pentagon plans to launch a pilot program for screening social media content for extremist material, according to an internal Defense Department document that was provided to The Intercept. Extremism Steering Committee is being led by Bishop Garrison, a senior advisor of the Secretary of Defense, currently designing the social media screening pilot program, which will, quote, continuously monitor military personnel for concerning behaviors, according to a Pentagon briefing in late March. So I'd be very curious how this works, right? Are they just monitoring social media generally? Like, are they monitoring searches and trending hashtags and doing data searches to see whether, what pops up, analyzing Google Trends? We already know that they're plugged in with all these tech companies. So is that what they're doing? Or are they following people? Are they saying, hey, Rob, you're in the military now. We know you. We're going to identify all your social media posts. You got this Facebook address, this YouTube account, this Twitter profile, this Instagram. All that just goes right into a database, and they check that specifically. In other words, they are monitoring you directly. They're not monitoring extremist threats on the internet. They're monitoring you and you and you. Be curious to see how this is being structured. Although in the past the military has balked at surveilling service members for extremist political views due to the First Amendment protections, the pilot program will rely on private surveillance firm in order to circumvent First Amendment restrictions on government monitoring. Can you believe these guys? According to a senior Pentagon official. So the government can't monitor you because it's the government, right? They need warrants. They need, you've got First Amendment protections. You can speak your mind freely. They're not allowed to do that. That's okay. They're not going to do it. They're just going to hire a third party to do it. And they're going to navigate around the different constitutional protections that you have so that they can violate them. And this is what we see on a grand scale. We already know that they're doing this, right? All of the people who say that there is no problem with Facebook or Twitter or YouTube or Google or any of these entities censoring your speech, they all say this. Oh, it's just a private company. They can do whatever the hell they want. Really? Even though they're undermining some of our fundamental civil liberties, our fundamental principles of the United States, like the freedom of speech that's embodied in the First Amendment. You're saying you're okay with that, with these other private companies like watering those things down? Would you be okay if other private companies, I don't know, reinstituted segregation again, like we had back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s? Would you be okay with that? Because those are also private restaurants and private auto shops and private drinking fountains. No, it's not okay. It's not okay when they do this stuff. And when we allow the government to use this private, BS escape valve, it's not okay. The Pentagon is now doing that with men and women in the armed services. And they probably have no idea. Though the firm has not yet been selected, the current frontrunner is Babel Street, a company that sells powerful surveillance tools, including social media monitoring software. Babel Street has drawn criticism for its practice of buying bulk cellular data, selling it to the federal national security agencies like the Secret Service. They rely on private companies to bypass the warrant requirements normally imposed on government bodies seeking to collect data. In November, Vice reported that the U.S. Military Special Operations Command used one of Babel Street's products, Locate X, to track the location of individuals for Special Forces operations. One method Babel controversially used was to purchase location data associated with the users of a popular Muslim prayer app. We have people praying, and we have the government interfering. Garrison and Babel Street, they didn't respond, of course. It is unclear as to what extent Congress is aware of the program, if at all. Why would they be aware of anything? When asked about the program, a spokesperson for Rep. Don Bacon, a member of the Armed Service Committee, said they were not aware of it. I have discussed this with our defense team, and as of right now, we have not heard anything from the DoD that would confirm this story, said Bacon. Senate Armed Service Committee did not immediately respond for a request for comment. In an email received after this article was originally published, spokesperson for the House Armed Services Committee provided the following. It says, the committee understands DoD is exploring a means of implementing social media screening. We anticipate any screening would be intended only as an additional means of vetting cleared individuals. Oh, okay, so that makes it okay. And those seeking to obtain a security clearance, not as a tool for ongoing surveillance of all men and women in uniform. Do you believe that? That said, Secretary Austin has been clear about his intentions and to understand what extent extremism exists in the force and its effect on good order and discipline. We look forward to hearing the results of the stand down and the department's plan to move forward. So they are endorsing the entire thing. Basically, they send this letter. Well, you know, we heard about that, but they're not doing the bad version. They're gonna, it's not for ongoing surveillance. It's just to make sure that they're good. And hey, and also we know this, by the way, anyways, Lloyd Austin told you he was going to do this. So, and we're looking forward to the results of this. Thanks for your inquiry. Next question. The Defense Department hinted at the program on April 9th on a press release about its Countering Extremism Working Group, which it says will make recommendations on incorporating machine learning and natural language processing into social media screening platforms, as well as ensure training addresses issues raised by commanders and supervisors on gray areas such as reading, following, and liking extremist material and content on social media forums and platforms. Pilot program is going to use keywords, going to identify potential extremists, though coming up with a list of terms without running afoul of speech protections has proven to be challenging. I wonder what those keywords will look like. I wonder if, you know, certain politicians are going to be on one list and other politicians are not. The Intercept previously noted that the military's Countering Extremism Working Group drafted a list of potential consultants that included anti-Muslim and Christian conservative groups. Using keywords to monitor social media isn't just an unnecessary privacy invasion. It will ensure that it is short-lived. It's a flawed strategy, said a retired FBI agent. It will undoubtedly produce a flood of false positives that will waste security resources, undermine morale, not going to identify anything. This is the tolerance for those that openly engage in racist behavior and discrimination. Last month, the White House rejected a proposal from the Department of Homeland Security to collect social media data from immigration applicants. Rather than relying on artificial intelligence or algorithms, they're basically going to say, just take reports of the racist misconduct. Trying to suss out extremists with an algorithm isn't likely to identify problem employees within the department. Look, I'm not even sure that it's the point of that. That they want to, it's about conditioning everybody who's already in there. If you're middle of the road, if you're not an extremist, if you're just somebody, I don't know about any of this stuff, or I'm not somebody who would jump out as in the extremist category, but maybe you're slightly conservative, you're slightly Republican. Now you're getting beat in the head with CRT and anti-extremist ideology. Pinky number 2 says, Rob, can we stop with the junk they want to keep our focus on and take on what is important? Geez, our government is no better than those bad popo groups I shall not name here. We have financial problems, food problems, and they want to go spend all of our money on climate change. I know. It's very important. I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like we're constantly assaulted by the temperature, especially here in Arizona. It's coming to July, right? It's going to be like 115 degrees in Arizona in July. That threatens my personal national security because it's too hot. But you know how I solve that? Jump in the pool. Sharon Quidney says, this woke military is just another example of the communist takeover of this country. It's the same thing they did in Russia. Immediately rid the military of any elements who are not in alignment with the regime. 6 months ago, I would have said, that's crazy. Like, they would never do that. Like, they would never officially take steps to purge the military. And I just covered 3 stories today talking about it. No Doubt says, solar tanks that only fight on a sunny, happy days. Solar tanks. That's right. Solar tanks. Yeah. Solar tanks, Tesla's solar tanks that are, marching through the desert in the Sahara. And when it gets cloudy, your side loses. Actually, there's no battle that day because both sides have solar tanks. It's cloudy. Nobody just fights. We all just sit down and have a picnic together. Mestizo Quixote says, wouldn't it make sense to insulate the military from tumultuous social movements? One would think that the military has more important things to focus on. You would think that. I mean, I thought that for a long time. I thought that thankfully that the military was sort of the last bastion of independence, sort of removing themselves from the political BS that you and I engage in on a regular basis. They're supposed to be above that. It's supposed to be that they are in America's interests and the civilians duke it out amongst ourselves. Republicans think they have better ideas. Democrats think they have better ideas. Military says, I don't care. You people sort it out. We're going to go execute our assigned duties flawlessly, and we are going to go protect America domestically and abroad. And that's it. And if the Republicans come in and we're going to change things, whatever. We're going to continue to fight and win. We're going to solve America's problems. Now, it's not even about that. Now we're fighting climate change, critical race theory, and apparently it is being infested with Marxism, according to our former Space Force commander. So I'm not sure what the military is. I don't know. Edon Tess says, I'm with you. What exactly is the military supposed to do? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it is simple. Global warming. Buy less tanks, buy more boats. There you go. Hey, that's a good point, right? Maybe we need the military to buy a bunch of boats because I've been hearing for 10 years that we're not going to have coasts anymore, or we're going to have a lot more coasts internally in this country. But obviously that hasn't happened either. Al Gore said we had 10 years to solve this problem. I remember hearing that back when Inconvenient Truth came out. You know how I remember this? Rush Limbaugh put a counter on his website that said, we only have 10 years to live, because Al Gore said we only have 10 years to live. We got to fix this in 10 years. That was like 25 years ago. So it is an ongoing thing. It's hysterical that we're still talking about it, except it's kind of scary because now it's pernicious. It's getting into our military. Edon Tess says, buy more boats. So if the military then, if they're going to be solving climate change, we all need boats so that we don't fall and sink in the ocean. Leafy Bug is in the house, says, I hope military personnel who think all of this politicized nonsense are able to mouth the right words or hold their tongues at the right time and hang in there until the military refocuses on its core mission of winning wars. If they go, the military could go the way of schools, universities. This seems incredibly dangerous. I agree with you. I actually agree with you. I think this is a big concern because it's supposed to be something that is off limits. Both sides, all right, you guys, we want you to go kill people and break things. That's the purpose of it. And if we don't want that to be the purpose of it, that's fine. We can have that conversation and we can change that. We can say, well, we don't, maybe defund the military. We're going to be a peaceful nation now. We're going to send community response teams over to deal with armed conflict in the Middle East. We're going to send, AOC and Rashida Tlaib to go out there and have conversations with people. Look, if that's the policy and we want to make that change as a country, we can have that conversation. But that's not what the military is for currently, right? They're for destroying the enemy. And I think that maybe we should revisit that in light of this new administration's change. Is it really about climate change? Great questions coming in today. A lot of good topics. A lot of irritating conversation, irritating topics today for me personally. Having trouble with my words, getting ahead of myself. If you want to support the show, you can do that over at locals.com, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. You can download a lot of stuff over there. Free copy of my book, Beginning to Winning. Download the slides that we went through today. Download a copy of my impeachment party documents. Download a copy of my Existence Systems personal productivity tool, totally free over there. You can share links throughout the day and connect with great people. Also want to remind you, we have a monthly locals meetup. It's going to be taking place this Saturday. Oh my goodness, it's coming up very soon, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have 1 hour Zoom meetup. So if you want to join and be a part of that, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. I know that some people get a little bit anxious when we talk about Zoom and talking and connecting. If you want to keep your camera off, no problem at all. Even if you don't want to talk, no problem at all. If I'm on there by myself and everybody has their cameras off and their mics off, I'll just talk to myself for an hour because I'm probably going to be doing that anyways. We have another thing coming up in June, Saturday, June 12th at 12 to 2 p.m. Says here we're going to be doing law enforcement interaction training. This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this one. So Saturday, June 12th, going to be about an hour and a half. We're going to have another 30 minutes or so for conversation. Another Zoom. Can also keep your cameras off if you want, but all free. All that's free if you are a supporter at locals.com. Watchingthewatchers.locals.com is the address. Lastly, before we get out of here, I'm a criminal defense lawyer here at the R&R Law Group. We're in Scottsdale, Arizona. We're very passionate about helping good people facing criminal charges to find safety, clarity, and hope in their cases and in their lives. So if you happen to know anybody in the state of Arizona who is facing DUI charges, domestic violence charges, felony charges, misdemeanor charges, traffic cases, anything and everything in between, we can help with that. We can help quash old warrants. We can clear up old records. We can help you restore your rights to vote, to possess a firearm, apply for federal benefits. There's a lot that we can do. And if you have an active case, we can really make sure that we can help represent you in a way that's going to get you the best possible outcome. There's a lot that goes into it. We offer free case evaluations. So if you want to come into our office, we'll have you sit down. You can meet with our team, grab a copy of my book, make sure you have a strategy before you leave our office. And if we can work together, great. But we just want to help. If we can just point you in the right direction, we'll do that. So if you do happen to know anybody in our state of Arizona that needs help, we would be honored and humbled if you sent them our way. It would really mean the world to us. We love what we do. We've got a great team of people here, and we're just looking forward to helping other good people who just need a little bit of support through this difficult time. So free case evaluations, phone number, website, everything you need is down in the description below. Also want to ask you to head on over to my second channel. If you would support us, that would mean the world to me as well. There's a link in the description below. Final reminder, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, so there's not going to be a live show on this channel. There is going to be a premiere, which is kind of like a live, but it's a pre-recorded premiere. It plays at the same time for everybody at the same moment, starting tomorrow at 4 p.m. Arizona time, 7 p.m. Eastern, over on channel number 2. So check that out. It is already public and posted and available if you're a subscriber over at Locals. So if you want to get into a deep dive about an hour and 20 minutes on Wuhan, the lab escape theory versus the natural emergence theory, I do a deep dive on that. We go really, really deep into the Nicholas Wade article, and it's very, very illuminating. We actually go through 4 different factors that sort of help us decipher whether this came from a lab or whether this came from nature. So fun video, heavy lifting, some deep dive stuff over there. So definitely not for everybody, but go check that out. And again, I would appreciate the support. So that is it from me, my friends. I will not see you tomorrow, but you can see that premiere on my second channel. I will, in fact, though, see you on Wednesday at the same time, same place, same location, 4 p.m. Arizona, 5 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. in Central, and 7 p.m. on that East Coast for that one Florida man. Everybody, thank you so much for being here with me today. I will see you back here on Thursday. Have a tremendous night. Bye-bye.